everyone if you're on the West Coast, and good afternoon, everyone if you're on the East Coast. It's actually the perfect time. But Aaron Rodgers decided to quit the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was announced roughly a couple hours ago. And there were hints that that might happen because right after Coach Tomlin gave his speech, it was said that Aaron Rodgers was crying and apologizing uh, why he didn't articulate, but he just kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." So one would have to believe that apology Aaron felt it necessary to give was because he was quarterbacking the Pittsburgh Steelers team that not only lost to the Texans, but uh, did so in a fashion that saw um, five turnovers and ultimately a loss score of 30-6, a drubbing. So on top of that, Aaron Rodgers had said repeatedly the reason why he went to the Steelers is because he wanted to play for Mike Tomlin. And the pair had been talking about Rodgers joining the Steelers for years and finally were able to make it happen. And so when they did, it didn't go as well as either person planned. So, and Tomlin was receiving calls from Pittsburgh Steelers fans in the stadium that he called home to be fired. So he walks out into the stadium. This happened last season repeatedly, and people are chanting, "Fire Tomlin, fire Tomlin, fire Tomlin," whenever a game didn't go the way they believed it should go. And that is unheard of in Steelers history for the fan base to so turn against a coach that they chant and that he should be fired in the home stadium as opposed to on social media, at home, at their own home, or while being part of the visiting team fan base at another organization's stadium. So it was really a jarring something for him to experience. And talking about Mike Tomlin now, and he apparently didn't get over it. And when they lost to the Texans the way that they did, I haven't had a chance to talk to Coach Tomlin about this, although he's, I believe, still here in Georgia. But I'm pretty certain that Tomlin uh, just simply had had enough. And sometimes you get to places in life where things happen to you and you find yourself asking the question, do I really need this if it's something so negative? And apparently, Mike Tomlin determined that he didn't need it, and Aaron Rodgers determined he didn't want to stick around if the person that he had come to the Steelers to work for was gone. There were also reports that this was going to be Aaron's last year anyway, and that was even before Tomlin made the decision. But Mike Tomlin leaving apparently made quitting that much easier for Aaron Rodgers. Now, does that mean Aaron Rodgers is going to quit football? Given the fact that he said he was going to only stick around for another year, I think so. Aaron Rodgers has a lot on his plate. He's co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, among other things, and he's established for himself a nice portfolio of sports-related ventures, and I believe he has enough money now to handle those ventures as he sees fit. Um, he can afford, and I say that as a clear double entendre, he can afford to not play. I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers. And now, if Mike Tomlin went someplace else, maybe Mike decides after some time off he wants to coach. Maybe he decides that after the next month or two. Maybe he has a change of heart and says, you know what, I want to come back. Do I think Aaron Rodgers would come back under those conditions? And I would have to say it depends on the situation. It really is. I don't want to say, oh, absolutely, because, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is 42 years old. You can only take so much pounding. And let's face it, he's not as spry as he was 10 years ago. Who is? Somehow, although there are some people who manage to do the hat trick of being more spry 10 years later in their life. But anyway, it doesn't seem like Aaron Rodgers is that person. And I think he's going to spend a lot more time on sports-related ventures. And there's a lot to get into. There's not just the Milwaukee Bucks. There's the emerging flag football leagues that are growing around the world, that are inexpensive to invest in and yet show the promise of great returns. There's pickleball as well, which is growing like wildfire around the world. So there's a lot of opportunity in sports now if you have the money to participate by owning a sports franchise, which really is the best way to do it. Why? Because the idea is to buy low and sell high. In other words, you buy a team when its value is, say, at 1 million, and then you sell it when its value gets to 4 million. Or you buy a team when it's 1 billion, and yet you sell it when it's 4 billion, and so on. Okay? Buy low, sell high. But it's all about buying. It's all about buying. So I think that's where Rodgers is headed. All right. So also, someone says about broadcasting, you know, he's done podcasts. He's done a number of them with Pat McAfee. I think that's another logical possible scenario that he expands his reach in media from that avenue, right? That could happen. So he has options. Talking about Aaron Rodgers, he has options. And again, I stress this: he's 42. Does he want to be another Phil Rivers and come back 3 years later and play for the NFL team, be it the Steelers or the Colts or the Raiders or what have you? I just don't see that as in the cards for him. Because again, unlike Phil Rivers, if he's coming back for money, then Aaron Rodgers would have lost a good chunk of it to be dragged in that direction of coming back to play. Because if you own the Milwaukee Bucks, hey Google, how much are the Milwaukee Bucks worth?
On the website Statista.com, they say, franchise value of the Milwaukee Bucks 2003 to 2025. In 2025, the franchise value of the Milwaukee Bucks rose to $4.3 billion US.
Okay, so it's worth $4.3 billion. So if he owns just 1/4 of that, that's $1 billion. He could sell his rights there for $1.4 billion and walk away, well, a billionaire. So if Aaron Rodgers owns any percentage of that to that degree, and it does beg the question, hey Google, what percentage of the Milwaukee Bucks does Aaron Rodgers own?
It's only 1%. On the website jsonline.com, they say, the Bucks announced in 2018 that Rodgers had become the first active NFL player to take a minority ownership stake in an NBA team. It's only 1%.
Well, only 1%. Okay. Which means you're talking about $400,000. So still, that's enough to buy a house. Okay. And that's substantial. That's quite substantial. I mean, do you have 400,000 lying around? And the franchise value is increasing because note, Google AI quoted a franchise value, I believe, is 2 years old. So let's say it's kicked up to $6 billion. If that's the case, then his shares are now at $600,000. So he gets 600,000, or maybe he gets a cool million. You know, it's not bad. Just, passive income, right? Not bad. Or maybe he just decides to hold on to that. Maybe he gets a percentage of revenue on top of that. I do not know. But he does own 1% of the Milwaukee Bucks. That's a smart play. Or maybe he decides to increase that to, I don't know how much money he's got laying around, maybe 10%. My point is that he has options. And, but wow, $4 billion for the Milwaukee Bucks. Ooh. All right, there you are, folks. Aaron Rodgers, proud Golden Bear. And by fact, let me see something here. Hey, Google, what's Aaron Rodgers' net worth?
I couldn't find an answer to that specific question, but according to MSN.com, Rodgers is worth $200 million, according to CelebrityNetWorth.com. Rodgers is a minority owner in the NBA's Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, so he's worth $200 million. He's a minority owner in the Milwaukee Bucks. Aaron Rodgers, by all accounts, is doing just fine. By contrast, hey Google, how much is Phil Rivers worth?
I don't know the answer to that specific question, but according to timesofIndia.indiatimes.com, according to Celebrity Net Worth, Philip Rivers' individual net worth in 2025 was estimated at $100 million.
See, he's $100 million, which isn't bad either. But he has 10 kids. See, yeah, Phil Rivers had 10 kids. So it's eight. Hey Google, how many children does Phil Rivers have? Hey Google, how many children does Phil Rivers have? I guess it doesn't know. Hey Google, how many kids does quarterback Phil Rivers have?
5. Philip Rivers' children include Hallie Rivers, Gunnar Rivers, Caroline Rivers, Andrew Joseph Rivers, and Grace Rivers.
5. Okay, so 5. So, well, okay. That's not, it's not so bad. All right. $100 million, though. That's not bad. Aaron Rodgers has $200 million. Okay, so there it is, folks. And thank you for watching, by the way. And, hey, subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark NFL News by Zenny62.com. Did you know NFL News by Zenny62.com gained over 83,000 visitors? Yeah, 83,000 visitors over the past month alone, and almost 1 million visitors over the past 12 months. So that's not bad, Thank you. And not only that, folks, we have 100 websites. So don't say, well, that's the only website you got. It's not. Somebody made that mistake very recently. Wrong by a long shot. Thanks.